Jealous sister begged for my forgiveness after paying my abuser to crash my baby shower and claim the baby is his. My parents now refuse to see her. I'm 28 and recently had my baby shower, but everything went completely wrong, so I'm here to share the context. I have an older sister, Rebecca, who is 32. Throughout her life, she was the golden child. Everything came easily to her. She was the one everyone used as an example, including me. My parents made her the standard for me, and it was tough. I won't lie, I wasn't dumb, but some subjects like physics and chemistry didn't come naturally to me. Because of this, my parents thought I was stupid. They never said it directly, but I could see their disappointment that I wasn't as successful as Rebecca. She got into medical school while I chose business because it was my goal, and I had absolutely no interest in doing what she chose. Rebecca always had an inflated sense of self-worth, and to be honest, that's why we never really got along. The competition between us was too strong. She was arrogant and selfish, and I always felt that if I was good at something, she couldn't handle it. For example, I'm a great dancer, and she wasn't. And every time I had an achievement, she would make a sour face and try to steal the attention away from me, as if she couldn't stand that all the attention was on her. My parents tried to act like they treated us the same, but I always knew they were prouder of her than of me. We had many problems growing up, but after school, when we moved out of our parents' house, we at least started behaving civilly. When we meet at family gatherings, we're always polite, but I know she still doesn't like me, and to be honest, I feel the same way. I don't care anymore, but it seems like it's still important to her to be the center of attention in any situation. She still strives to be better than everyone else. I guess the only thing I surpassed her in is personal life. Honestly, I never even thought of it as a competition in that area. Personal relationships are personal. I don't consider it an achievement, but apparently she doesn't like that I'm married and expecting my first child, even though I'm younger than her. My husband, Rick, and I have been together for almost 3 years, married for a year, and we found out we were expecting a baby 2 or 3 months after our wedding. We were overjoyed and announced it to everyone. A couple of weeks later, my parents were very happy for us, and honestly, we now have a good relationship with them. After I graduated, I told them that my childhood wasn't easy no matter how much they tried to hide it. They always used Rebecca as an example for me, and because of that, I felt immense pressure. I told them this after graduation, and they apologized. They said they regretted how they treated me and didn't realize how unfairly they compared us. They assured me they loved us both equally and promised to try and do better. At that time, I didn't know what to think, but since then, they've really tried to be there for me, and our relationship has improved, so I don't hold a grudge over what happened in childhood. Everything is in the past. They even tried to reconcile me with Rebecca, but she made it clear she wasn't interested in having a good relationship with me. So I told my parents to drop it. We're not 15 anymore, and honestly, Rebecca is not someone I want to be friends with. She's always been way too self-absorbed. The only thing she ever talks about is herself and her achievements. I'm happy that she's doing well, but listening to it endlessly is exhausting, especially when I know I can genuinely be happy for her accomplishments despite our past. But she can never be happy for me, and she's proven this multiple times. At my engagement, she sat there with a sour face. The same thing happened at the wedding. When I announced my pregnancy, she didn't show any joy, and at the baby shower, she crossed all boundaries and tried to ruin it. I don't think any normal person could forgive her for what she did. Rebecca is lucky I didn't sue her and my ex, whom she brought to the party uninvited. He was an absolutely unwelcome guest. Now, a bit about my ex, Kurt. We don't get along at all. I hate him, and I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive him because he is the most toxic and abusive person I've ever known. My whole family knows how awful our relationship was and what I had to go through to escape that life. We started dating in college, and for the next 4 years, it was a cycle of getting together and breaking up. In the end, I broke up with him when I found out he was cheating on me, but he didn't want to let me go and kept trying to contact me. At some point, he even started writing to me again and only stopped when I threatened to call the police. He spread dirty rumors about me, even though he kept saying he still loved me and wanted me back. Even when we were together, we always fought and broke up because of his behavior. He was always suspicious, and if I talked to anyone or went out without him, he immediately accused me of cheating or not investing enough in our relationship compared to him. Back then, I was easy to manipulate because I desperately wanted to be loved. And when he apologized, he did it with such intensity that I believed him. When things were good, he did everything perfectly, but then he would bring it up in every fight. But when things went bad, they went really bad. I could cry for days on end. I think I was in a deep depression during those 4 years. My self-respect and self-esteem were completely destroyed, and I felt like I'd never escape that vicious circle because I kept going back to him over and over. My family knew about it because after a year of dating, I introduced him to them, and after each breakup, I told my parents about it. A couple of close cousins were also aware. As for the other relatives, I'm not sure how much they knew, but they suspected something, including Rebecca. But here's what I'm sure of. Even if some didn't know how toxic and abusive our relationship was, everyone knew how hard the breakup was for me. Despite that, Rebecca intentionally brought my ex to the party. I was lucky I figured it out in advance. A couple of weeks before the baby shower, when I told my parents about my plans, a few friends hinted that my sister had been asking about my ex. Rebecca was so stupid that she started asking my close friends what Kurt was doing and tried to pass it off as simple curiosity, but I immediately realized something was off. So, to protect myself, I decided not to invite her to the baby shower. I even discussed it with my husband and parents and explained the situation to them. My parents weren't thrilled with the decision, but respected it. Still, Rebecca somehow found out when and where the baby shower would take place, probably through other relatives I had invited. I never asked anyone not to tell Rebecca the time and place of the event, and that was my mistake. On the day of the baby shower, everything was going great, but about an hour into the event, Kurt showed up at my house. I was in shock when I saw him. Since the party was at our house and there was no security, I had just forgotten about him and opened the door without thinking. He walked in with a stack of papers and immediately handed them to Rick. I was completely confused, literally frozen because I hadn't seen Kurt since the breakup, and I didn't know how to react. While I was trying to gather myself, Kurt handed the papers to Rick, who was also in shock. He declared that we had been having an affair for the last 6 months and that he was almost sure the baby was his because the conception date allegedly matched when we had been seeing each other. He came to claim his rights as a father and said that when the baby was born and the paternity test confirmed he was the father, he would get partial custody. He accused me of avoiding him the last few weeks and not answering his calls, even though he supposedly said he wanted to be involved in the baby's life. Then he added that he didn't want it to come to this, but according to him, I forced him to do it and he left the house, leaving us in complete shock. Of course, everything he accused me of was complete nonsense. After that, chaos broke out. I had a nervous breakdown. I was scared about what people would think of me after such an incident. Rick knew it was all a lie, and so did my parents. Fortunately, no one believed a single word he said, and even the documents and fake screenshots of our conversations were all fake. Rick just set them aside. Everyone gathered around me to calm me down because I was crying so hard I didn't even remember what happened next. I couldn't talk to anyone, so I went to my room to pull myself together and ended up crying and falling asleep. When I woke up, it was almost midnight and all the guests had left. Rick told me what had happened after I went to my room. He said everyone had eaten, but no one stayed long after that scene. They just left. I felt terrible, and the first thing I did after talking to Rick was to write a message apologizing to everyone who had been at the party. Then I started thinking about finding out who was really behind all this. I suspected Rebecca was involved, but then I realized if I just asked her directly, she would deny everything and cause a drama, making it seem like I was slandering her, so I decided to be smarter. After talking to Rick, we decided it was better to talk to Kurt directly and find out what happened, because it was obvious someone had put him up to it. I knew Kurt had once been in love with me, but the last couple of years after I made it clear on social media that I was seriously dating Rick, he stopped trying to contact me. He didn't talk about me to my friends like he used to. It was too strange that after all these years of complete silence, he suddenly showed up on my doorstep with some made-up story to ruin my reputation and relationship with my husband. Someone was clearly behind this, and I was almost certain it was Rebecca. But since I couldn't get anything out of her, I decided to talk to Kurt. I unblocked him everywhere and tried to write, not knowing what to expect. Fortunately, he turned out to be a fool and replied immediately as soon as I wrote to him. I didn't say much. I just asked why he did this and told him that I once really loved him, but would never have thought he was capable of such nastiness, especially now that I was pregnant. I told him I always had a soft spot for him and would never do that to him if we were in the reverse situation. I knew this approach would make him feel guilty. I know him like the back of my hand. And as I expected, he immediately wrote that he regretted it. He said he didn't think it through, that he had just done what Rebecca asked him to do. I pretended to be in shock and said I didn't believe him because my sister would never go that far. That's when he sent me the conversation with Rebecca. It turned out she had even paid him to create this spectacle at my baby shower. She did it intentionally to ruin everything. As soon as I got the screenshot, I blocked him again, though he managed to write that he didn't want to hurt me, that he was still in love with me, and that he was angry because I married someone else and was having a baby with another man, even though, in his opinion, we were meant to be together. That's why he agreed to this whole scheme with Rebecca. But I didn't care about his confessions. I had the evidence, and I immediately sent it to my parents, telling them what really happened. It was already pretty late, but as soon as they saw the message, they called me right away. We were all shocked that Rebecca could actually go this far, paying my ex to show up and create such a disgusting scene at my baby shower. When my parents called, I told them that after all this, I couldn't have a normal relationship with Rebecca. I didn't even want to be polite with her. I made it clear that they would have to choose between her and me. They didn't hesitate long because they immediately said they chose me. What Rebecca did was unacceptable and she needed to learn a lesson from it. That was all I needed to hear, and we never discussed it with my parents again. Besides, I had already blocked Rebecca, so there was nothing to worry about. A few days passed and everything was quiet, but this morning my sister showed up at my door in a completely hysterical state. I didn't open the door because I knew she might harm me and I was home alone. So I just let her scream outside. She was yelling about the ultimatum I gave my parents, and it seemed she had tried to contact them, but she realized they had blocked her too. She even went to their house, but they refused to let her in and said they didn't want to see her after everything she had done. They told her about my ultimatum and that they chose me, so she knew everything. My parents told her to leave, but instead of going home, she went straight to me, begging me to fix everything and crying her eyes out. But I told her it was no longer in my power and that she had dug her own grave, so now she could lie in it. Then I told her to leave, but she kept crying until I threatened to call the police. Several hours have passed, and now I feel a bit awkward about everything that happened. I don't know, maybe it's pregnancy hormones affecting me, but I just feel guilty. I was wrong for making my parents choose between me and my sister,